What's up? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel, Sports, Life, and Politics TV. And today, we're going to be going over some of these police corruption cases that are starting to pop up around the nation. One is in LA County. The other one is in Louisiana State Police. But obviously, there have been many where the DOJ, the Department of Justice, have started to investigate. Now, a lot of these cases, there's a lot of cover-ups. Obviously, in the Uvalde case with Salvador Ramos, there's a lot of questions that's not being answered. The parents want answers. And in a lot of these police departments, they're like gangs. They operate like gangs. They have a no snitch policy. They have a policy of where they want to keep people in the dark. And you know, for a long time, black people have been saying, hey man, a lot of these cases, man, people are just, the police is getting away with all type of heinous acts, man. They're lying. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. They're not doing their jobs. And people is told the Negro, you're lying, shut up, be quiet, Blue Lives Matter, and everything under the sun. Now look, is every police officer bad? No, but you get tired of saying that. Because the ones who are good officers, they can't speak out because of the gang culture in a lot of these police departments. They have these policies where you can't talk and tell on other police officers. And in some of these clips, I'm going to prove exactly that. Let's go with this first clip here.
Developing tonight, newly revealed court documents appear to show a deliberate cover-up related to the existence of deputy gangs at the LA County Sheriff's Department. An oversight board says numerous studies and investigations have concluded that sheriff gangs continue to operate and threaten public safety. Here's our investigative reporter, Eric Leonard.
But I think it all boils down to the fact that sheriffs are elected, and it's sacrificing public safety for power.
That's LA.
And as you can see, this is another sheriff who's speaking out, risking his job and safety to say that they're sacrificing the public safety for power. Keep the video going.
County Sheriff's Lieutenant Larry A. Waldy testifying today that deputy gangs, cliques, or subgroups continue to exist and exert control inside the Sheriff's Department. Waldy says while he was assigned to the Compton station, members of the Executioner's deputy gang controlled overtime, access to the best assignments, and celebrated violence.
And as you can see in that clip, the man said that they were over the hours, the best assignments, and the last but not least, the most important, they celebrated violence. I'm gonna say that again, celebrated violence. Some of these people in some of these police departments, some of the most violent people on the planet. When you shoot a person unarmed or illegally or in the back and you celebrate that, what kind of a low-life degenerate are you? These are the people who are supposed to protect and serve, and these are the people who you are paying your hard-earned tax dollars to. Keep the video going.
He testified that when he refused to put an executioner's member in charge of scheduling, the gang retaliated by ordering a weeks-long work slowdown that appeared to lead to an immediate spike in violent crime.
Is there an effect?
Now, for somebody to do that, for a week-long slowdown, and there be a spike in violent crimes, that shouldn't just be a black thing or a white thing. That should be an everybody thing, you would think. Because whether you red, black, white, brown, Asian, Hispanic, it doesn't matter what you are. If somebody's following you home for a home invasion, or a carjacking, or purse snatching, or robbery, or shooting, and the police are choosing not to patrol, even though you're paying them your tax dollars, is absolutely deplorable and disgusting. And this is the type of the behavior that's going on around the nation in some of these police departments. Keep the video going.
Act upon the community with increased crime and a police slowdown.
Yes, sir.
And how would you describe that?
I would say that public safety is jeopardized.
The hearing at the Sheriff's Civilian Oversight Commission is among the latest efforts to expose and figure out what can be done about these deputy subgroups that have been part of the sheriff's culture for generations. Earlier, the county's Inspector General, Max Huntsman, testified that some newly public documents suggest someone at Sheriff's headquarters even instructed Internal Affairs not to ask about the East LA deputy gang called the Banditos when they investigated.
Now, this is a whole nother separate group. The first group was called the Executioners. I mean, you can't get a more disgusting name. I mean, these people are gang members. They're tattooing these gangs on their body. So you have the Executioners, which is a skull, which is a skeleton holding an AK-47 with some kind of Nazi helmet on. And then you have the Banditos. This is obviously a Hispanic gang within the Sheriff's Department. Keep the video going.
Investigated a 2018 off-duty deputy-on-deputy beating.
But I believe it also amounts to obstruction of justice.
And that obstruction.
And let me say this real quick. A deputy-on-deputy beating. This is the problem when good officers try to speak out. When good officers actually try to do the right thing, not only are their job on the line, the hours, the good assignments, now their physical safety is on the line. A deputy-on-deputy beating. Unbelievable.
Justice again rests with Captain Burson and the sheriff who gave that instruction.
If the sheriff gave that instruction.
Sheriff Villanueva has denied these deputy groups are much more than social clubs. The sheriff has ridiculed Huntsman, the oversight panel.
And let's get it right. Deputy Villanueva is also a part of these gangs. I remember him years ago. He was on TV for this same thing. This is not new. It's not something that just came up. This has been going on for decades. And now he's in charge. And when you're in charge, that means you're the head guy in charge of these gangs. He knows exactly what's going on. He yells out, this is nothing but social clubs. And these people are out here illegally tampering with evidence, illegally shooting people, beating the hell out of people, and covering it all up. And then after the cover-up comes the celebration. Keep the video going.
And reports that have concluded the deputy gangs exist, like this Rand Corporation study released last fall. A current East LA deputy, testifying by audio only with his voice disguised to protect his identity, says the Banditos run amok because of a lack of leadership.
McCaffrey at the time was befriending the Banditos.
And later,
and that's a damn shame. That officer was so scared, he had to disguise his voice as a chipmunk. I couldn't tell if that was Alvin, Simon, or Theodore. Unbelievable.
Candidate for sheriff and retired Commander Eli Vera said Sheriff Villanueva lied to the public when the sheriff said he cleaned house at East LA and transferred out dozens of deputies tied to the Banditos.
What about this suggestion of the 36 people who were transferred? Were those the leaders and the Banditos who were occupying East LA?
It was not.
Deputy.
And as you can see, he just said, did you transfer out the gang leaders? And the other officer said that was not. They did not transfer them out. Let me tell you, got transferred out. It's the people who tried to speak up, speak out, and didn't want nothing to do with that. This is the problem with the good officers. They wield no power. They wield no power. They're powerless. So they got transferred out for trying to do the right thing. And this is going on nationwide in some of these police departments. Keep the video going.
Who are said to be members of that executioners gang at the Compton station have been linked to a number of on-duty shootings, including that of Andres Guardado, whose family says was shot in the back. That case is still under investigation. The oversight hearing and yet another newly initiated investigation into deputy gangs are supposed to lead towards some sort of reform, but the oversight board does not have the authority to enforce any changes. That power still lies with the sheriff or maybe some outside law enforcement agency like the FBI. I'm investigative.
And as you can see, they're not doing anything but passing the buck around. Saying we can't do nothing. Oh, we can't do nothing. The oversight committee, if you're an oversight committee, what in the hell point of having an oversight committee if you can't do nothing? They talking about leave it to the sheriff. The sheriff's not going to do nothing. He just transferred out all the people who spoke out against it. So these type of things are going to continue. So when you see somebody who attacks the sheriff's, the Compton Sheriff Department, or East LA Sheriff's Department, and you see somebody all of a sudden it's some kind of shooting or they harm one of these people, then you'll kind of know why, because of some of their actions, some of the stuff they're doing. Go to another clip. DOJ launches investigation into Louisiana State Police. Let's take a look.
Investigation into the Louisiana State Police. The Civil Rights Division is looking into the department's patterns and practices after a number of public reports accusing officers of participating in secret violence. NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor joins us now. Yamiche, good to see you. These are really serious allegations. What kind of secret violence is the DOJ looking into exactly?
Well, as you just mentioned, the DOJ just moments ago announced that they are going to be looking at the Louisiana State Police, and they're saying that they're going to be looking at a pattern and practice of their sort of relationship with the community, including particularly there are arguments that they have been targeting black men in particular, turning off cameras.
And you damn right they've been targeting black men, and they've been doing it for decades upon decades. You know, the Louisiana State logo is the boot. And they've been booting black men in their ass for the longest. And they're cutting off their cameras, they're muting the sound, and they're going to work. They kicking people right in their ass. And they targeting black men. And black people say, hey man, this is going on that. And you try to go through the proper channels to try to get something done. And you got black people crying and hollering and screaming and, hey man, this ain't right. And people tell you, hey, shut up, quit lying, nigga. Blue Lives Matter. Nothing to see here until it starts to spread, like the Uvalde's police. And that culture of lying and covering up tends to backfire on everybody. Believe me, police corruption is like a virus. It's only a matter of time before it starts harming everybody, not just the Negro. Keep the video going.
Cameras beating black men with flashlights, and not wanting to put together that evidence. I want to read for you part of what Kristen Clark, who heads the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, said just now. She said there are reports of unwarranted force after pursuits involving the use of tasers and blows to the head. Our investigation will be thorough and comprehensive. This marks the first statewide pattern or practice investigation of a law enforcement agency the Department of Justice has opened in more than 2 decades. Now, the thing that's really important here is that this comes after the 2019 death of Ronald Green. Now, Kristen Clark was very clear to say that this is separate, apart from that, but she wants people to know that this is really going to be the DOJ looking at the constitutionality of policing in Louisiana, looking at whether or not this community is being terrorized, frankly, and this also comes at the urging.
Now let me say this. The DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, they know exactly what's going on. They play dumb, but you have to do it within reason. Some of this stuff that they're doing, you have to do it within reason, because let's get this clear. The DOJ doesn't really care, but they do care if it gets so out of control that black people start to attack back. That they say enough is enough. You guys aren't doing shit, so it leaves it up to us. That's what they don't want. Because in the United States, they tell you black people only account for 13% of the population. That's a lie. I would say 30% of black people don't even fill out the census. I would say black people count for every bit of 20 to 25% of America's population. We don't trust the census, and I think subconsciously we don't want people to know what our numbers really are, just in case something jump off, because we know nobody likes us. And me personally, I don't care if anybody likes us. I want the respect. Fuck the like. Fuck the hugs. Fuck the kisses. Damn all the rest of that stuff. The black man wants the respect, because that's who's mostly being attacked. Keep the video going.
Of black people in Louisiana, and lastly, the Louisiana head of the Louisiana State Police, he said that he would welcome an investigation like this because their own records show that something like 67% of times where they have used use of force, it's been against a black person. And do I believe 67% of the force was used against a black person? Absolutely not. I would imagine that number is closer to 80, 85% that they booting black people right in their ass. And if the shoes on the other foot and we start booting them back in their ass, then the whole country start crying and yelling Martin Luther King and Rodney King, can we all just get along? And the love fest begins. So they have to do something about this.
They have to do something about this.
Yamiche, you mentioned this was the first investigation in 2 decades, but there has been another DOJ investigation into the Louisiana State Police under this administration. Talk to us about what happened in the past and how that factors in.
Well, what's happened really is that the Department of Justice has looked at Louisiana and said, how are you treating African Americans? Are you doing something that is not right here? And also, there was a really big AP investigation that found that...
He said, how are you treating African Americans? Like shit. I've said this in another video. In 2006, the FBI did an investigation and realized that white supremacist group en masse was joining police departments, sheriff's departments, and all kind of different law enforcement. So they already knew this. That was in 2006. Excuse me. And you know how the FBI knew? Because they had agents in these white supremacist groups. So they already knew that going in.
Dozens of cases involved officers either turning off or muting their body camera, and also beating people and not wanting to own up to that. And of course, video really showing that what officers were saying was not right. So this is really part of a pattern that the Department of Justice has really undertaken, especially under the Biden administration. We've seen other investigations into Minneapolis, into Phoenix, into other cities, and we should say that Baltimore in particular, they were under a consent decree, that police department, after the death of Freddie Gray. A lot of these investigations take up to a year, I'm told by sources, and it could lead to a consent decree in Louisiana, which would mean that that police department would have to follow recommendations by the Department of Justice, and they would be closely monitored by the Department of Justice.
Now, sometimes they actually park another investigator there or an official to watch and make sure that the changes are made after these types of investigations are completed. Yamiche Alcindor, thank you so much for that.
And let's get this straight, you guys. This is not just a Louisiana problem. This is not just a LA County Sheriff's problem. This is a nationwide problem, whether it be Chicago, Baltimore, Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Miami, Boston, New York. It does not matter. This is happening nationwide. So they have to fix these issues because the gangs in these departments are running amok. Not only are they harming people, but they celebrating it. They're going online. They're doing TikTok dances. They're doing all type of wild and unbelievable shit on a daily basis where the government knows that, hey, man, even though the police does have power, you guys are not as powerful as you think, because in a particular police department, you might have 5,000, 6,000. A major city like New York, it might be 30, 40,000 police officers, but you're in a city of 8 million. You're not really nowhere near as strong as you think you are. You have to hold people accountable for breaking the law within law enforcement. And black people have been saying it for the longest, man. The Negro male has been saying, hey, man, what is going on? And nobody wanted to believe. But now these things are starting to come out. It's starting to rear its ugly head. And the last thing the government wants is people to strike back. And you probably ask, well, how do you fix this? Just little old me. I know exactly how to fix this, you guys, believe it or not. All you have to do, listen closely now, all you have to do is start digging in that pension. You tell them if you harm or shoot somebody in the back, we giving your whole pension to that family. You beat the hell out of somebody, that's 15%, 20% of your pension goes to that person. You dig in that cash, this will be a thing of the past. Hey, man, I appreciate y'all tuning into the video. I appreciate all the support. Special shout out to Jamal Brown, Jay Lockhart, Lonzo Crawford, all my folks. Hey, man, comment on the video. Tell me what I did wrong, where I did things off. Hey, man, just, help support the video. I can take constructive criticism as long as you're not nasty where you calling people out their name and talking about their mama. Some people just go too far with it in the comments. But most of the comments so far have been pretty positive, and I appreciate that, man. But hit that like, hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on a nationwide the police ain't shit ride. Peace.